even in case of rape. The founding fathers of our country here in the United States were brilliant people, very, very smart people. A lot of them graduated college before they were 18, 19 years old. A lot of them were lawyers, some of them were professors, some of them were pastors, having attained their theology degree even in their teens. These men were very thoughtful and very mindful people, and they were very well read. In the Declaration of Independence, there's a passage that says that we are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. Among these are the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I think that they were not at all unaware of the fact that they put life first, liberty next, and the pursuit of happiness third. That these are not concurrent rights, that these are successive rights. These rights being life first, so that my liberty should never infringe on your right to life, and your right to the pursuit of happiness should never impose on anyone else's liberty. There can be an argument for a woman's liberty being abridged by the fact that she has to be pregnant, but let's not forget that we're talking about a temporary situation. We're talking about a permanent solution in the case of abortion for a temporary situation, which is the pregnancy. So the right to life of the child, which is a separate entity according to biologists, should never be infringed on by the woman's right to liberty, because she will have her liberty in short order. Biologists all agree that children are children no matter how they were conceived. The reason this is an issue is because when you hear politicians say, oh, I'm pro-life except in case of rape, I take issue with that. Having been conceived of rape, my life is not worth less than anyone else's conceived in a loving relationship. Biologically and physiologically, each child is just as unique and special as every other child. And each child is still a child. Even if we go through the verbal gymnastics of calling it an embryo, a fetus, we still call a toddler, and an adolescent, a young adult, an elderly, elderly. They're just terms for a stage of life. In that debate of when the child should be considered to have attained the right to life, a lot of people bring up personhood. Personhood is the establishment of the rights of that person. As I said, the Declaration of Independence says that as people we have these rights. Personhood was denied to black people in the early part of our country, to Jews in Germany, and now to these preborn children. It's the civil rights issue of our day. These children, just because they can't tell you what's going on, doesn't mean they don't know what's going on. Their ability to communicate has been part of the issue that people have with personhood. In determining personhood, there are three main components. Physiologically, who's to determine who's a person? By 8 weeks old, children are fully formed. They have all of their internal organs, they have their brain capacity, they move around, they had their auditory functioning in that they jump at and startle at loud noises. They respond to different things. So physically, they're formed. Socially, they hear noises and move around. And then we have this social thing. For example, there was a young woman not too long ago who had a child in utero. She wanted this child. She named this child. But then the child was going to be defective. The doctor told her that it was going to have a deformity. So she chose to have an abortion. At 33 weeks, they were both killed, because abortion at that time is so detrimental to mother and child. So 2 people were killed because the child was going to be deformed. The child's life was considered worth less than a perfect baby's life. Who should be making that determination? I don't think it should be a social issue. I think it should be a legal issue, and I think that children in utero should attain personhood. The reason I think so is because, having been conceived of rape, I'm targeted for abortion. Every time somebody says I'm pro-life except in case of rape, incest, or the life of the mother, think about me, because they're talking about having me killed just because my father was a rapist. Now, mind you, rapists don't get capital punishment for rape, but I would have to receive capital punishment just because I was conceived in rape. I don't think this is a right standing. And when they lump together the exceptions of rape, incest, and life of the mother, be aware, when we're talking about rape and incest, we are talking about two same things. But then they throw in this life of the mother exception. That's not an exception. The doctor has two patients in that case. If one of the patient dies in trying to save them both, that's not an exception. The doctor has to make a decision on whose life to save. That's a reasonable thing for a doctor to do. There's no comparison to killing a healthy child in a healthy woman for rape or incest.